Hey, buenos días. Yo soy Dr. Castillo. I'm Dr. Castillo. I had a request from Pilar to show you or teach you a little bit about what I know. Granted, I'm not a nutritionist, so number one. Number two, I have studied nutrition and I have actually done a lot of nutritional videos and Facebook's lives with people that I know that are well versed in the area. So by nature, I do know a lot. So take it with a grain of salt. But here's what I know. I know Pilar wants to get a couple points across. I do take this seriously because I do take my nutrition seriously because I understand it's an important area of health to be concerned about. In fact, my philosophy is simply having a great physique, making sure your body's functioning from a mechanical standpoint very well. Meaning you're able to walk well, you're able to get up from a seated position. Mentally is another big health thing. So making sure you say good things to yourself, positivity, muy importante. And then food. So your chemical state, what you eat, determines how you feel. And people want to feel good these days. And so what I want to teach you a little bit about are the three macronutrients that she wanted me to emphasize. So you got your carbohydrates, which are simple. So it's básico. So your carbohydrates básicos y complicados, so complex carbohydrates as well. So carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Remember those three. Those are big. And then what you want to know is with the simple carbohydrates, you got your breads. So you want your white breads, your white cookies. Your enriched wheat flour is the main ingredient that you'll see on the food label. Make sure to read those food labels, really important nowadays because they put lots of things in foods. In fact, the foods that you see with the least ingredients are normally the ones that you want to go for. So you got your simple carbohydrates and then you got your complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates, the difference between that and a simple is that it takes longer to burn, your body to burn a complex carbohydrate versus a simple. A simple just goes boom right into your bloodstream and becomes sugar. And so that's a big deal in today's society with inflammation and people eating too much sugar. Can lead to diabetes, heart disease, some of the biggest killers in today's society. So watch out for those simple carbohydrates. Emphasize the complex. Complex carbohydrates consist of your brown rice, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, great things like that. Make sure the oatmeal is gluten-free though, so it's not as inflammatory. So sin gluten, and you'll be way better off as far as health-wise. And I know in the Hispanic culture, I mean, we love our flour tortillas, right? I'm half Mexican, so yo soy de Reynosa, Mexico, and a lot of my patients are from Mexico as well. So sometimes they bring in their pupusas y los tacos de carne asada. I know, I love it, and I love tasting all that stuff, but y arroz y pollo, todos comidas saludables en la cultura, pero some of the things you have to watch out for in excess. So your rice, for example, make sure it's brown rice. You can do that for a simple change. But moving on, because we know carbohydrates, we get that now. Fats. Fats are also very important. Another macronutrient that are so good to know about. There's a difference between fat and saturated fat. Saturated fat are your avocados, really good for you. You can also find saturated fat in eggs as well. You can find it in coconut oil. So look at your fats. Cholesterol, that's a big one too. Cholesterol is not bad for you if you consume it in moderation, but that's a sticky subject for some people. But I know if I have eggs in the morning, I'm usually good off because my body uses that cholesterol. Cholesterol is really good for hormones. It's great for healing processes. And it's definitely a controversial subject in today's age because people for the longest time have thought that fat's bad for you, right? Fat makes you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat, right? That's why people thought that low-fat milk was good for you, and then they realized that it wasn't. It actually increased rates of disease. So fat's good for you in moderation. Cholesterol is good for you. Saturated fat is great. You can find it, like I said, avocados. You can find it in your coconut oil. tons of sources. Fats in like nuts too. Great for your body. And then lastly, you want your proteins. And just as a general over-encompassing, really the thing that really molds all this together are your verduras, vegetables. And the reason that's important is because they provide fiber, which helps push your food through your system adequately in a timely fashion, so that it doesn't sit and linger there. Because if you have food that lingers, compromiso, corto uno, okay.
No.
Oh, I mean, compromiso a la oficina. Okay, gracias. Sorry, 1 second. You have your vegetables, which kind of stick everything together. They provide your nutrients, right? We're talking salads, like with spinach, kale, carrots, celery, great vegetables that help provide that fiber intake, which helps push the food through. The faster your food goes through, the better your body can absorb it. In most circumstances. But vegetables are always good to include in your daily regimen. And lastly, proteins. Proteins, you want healthy protein. The difference between healthy and unhealthy protein is what your protein ate. So if you look at hamburger, for example, which came from a cow, if that cow was filled with antibiotics, you're eating those antibiotics. So what you want is grass-fed beef, if you are going to eat beef. If you're going to avoid beef, like red meats, great. I don't eat very much red meats. The reason that is because most of it's not clean. So I'm looking for clean food. The cleanest food is usually going to be your lean chickens, your salmon, your cod, your fillets. You know, if you want like fish tacos, great. Corn tortillas, right? Corn is better than flour. So if you are going to eat tortillas, eat corn tortillas. But back to protein. So make sure your proteins are clean versus processed, right? And the more you cook your food by yourself versus put it in a microwave, the better off you'll be in the long run. So I hope you enjoyed this small tidbit, right? You got your carbohydrates, focus on the complex ones, your oatmeals, your sweet potatoes, your brown rice, versus the sugars with the white enriched wheat flour. You got your fats, saturated fat's great for you, fat's great for you. You can find that in butter too, awesome, using that. You got your proteins. Make sure you get those lean sources from chicken, salmon, excuse me, etc., etc. And vegetables makes everything better. It pushes the food through, creates fiber content. If you want more info, feel free to have Pilar give you my email address, because I love making smoothies. Smoothies in the morning are a great way to combine all three of these ingredients to start your day off right, create great energy levels, make sure you don't feel like para prevenir like a crash like at 3 p.m. like you feel that crash of energy, and just general nutrition in general. You just feel better, you get sick less often, you feel less pain, decrease inflammation. All of that's great. So hopefully you learned a little bit of this. I know this was 8 minutes long, and it wasn't in Spanish, but like I can make a Spanish for you. I can make a Spanish video for you in the future if you need to. But hope you'll use the subtitles and learned a little bit. Entonces, tenga un buen día y cuídese. Dr. Castillo signing off.